Krishna was a friend. Arjuna was not saying because of that. Arjuna was saying because he wanted to prove that. So he gave examples of other rishis. These are great personality who distribute the Vedic knowledge as it is accepted by all acharyas. Therefore, Arjuna tells Krishna that he accepts whatever he says to be completely perfect. Sarvam etad ratam manye. I accept everything you say to be true. Arjuna also says that personality of Lord is very difficult to understand and that he cannot be known even by the great demigods. It's not easy. So he is Adokshaja. Adokshaja means that plane which actually comes down, which cannot be touched. Adokshaja means which cannot be captured, which cannot be known. Dokshaja has to come down itself by himself. Infinite has to reveal himself. So even great jnanis cannot catch him. Great yogis cannot catch him in full. Whereas a devotee, Lord gives himself to the devotee. Arjuna also says that the personality of the Lord is very difficult to understand and he cannot be known even by the great demigods. This means that the Lord cannot even be known by personalities greater than human beings. So how can a human being understand Sri Krishna without becoming his devotee? How is it possible? If demigods cannot understand, mere human beings can we understand with our dull-headed intelligence? Therefore, Bhagavad Gita should be taken up in a spirit of devotion only. No other yoga, because Bhagavad Gita has karma, jnana, yoga. Above that, bhakti. So if we have to transcend karma, jnana, and yoga, if we have to actually go to the uh, supreme purpose of Bhagavad Gita, ultimate purpose of Bhagavad Gita is what? Sharanagati to Krishna. To accept him as our master, to be a devotee of him. If we have to become that, then we have to accept the path of Bhakti Yoga. One should not, and we have to see Bhagavad Gita in that light it only. One should not think that he is equal to Krishna, nor should he think that Krishna is an ordinary personality or even very great personality. Some people say, oh, Krishna was a great king. Krishna was a he was an avatar of Purusha. He's avatar of that supreme energy. But everything has to end in this material. But his form also ended. Ultimately, Brahma Jyoti remains. You also, like Krishna, how he dissolved his form and entered Brahma Jyoti, you will also dissolve the form and enter Brahma Jyoti. What does it mean? In one way, you're saying that it's all the same, you're all equal. So it is, in one way, impersonalism, Mayavada. So very atheistic nature in one way, because you are not recognizing that Brahma Jyoti is actually Krishna's effulgence. Krishna's divine play is just to disappear from this world. He doesn't just get dissolved and becomes one with Brahma Jyoti. He remains as Krishna himself in the abode of Vaikunthas. Then there's no question of Vaikuntha then. And then why there is spiritual plane discussed in scriptures? So many questions come. Lord Sri Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, at least theoretically, according to the statements of Bhagavad Gita or the statements of Arjuna. The person who is trying to understand the Bhagavad Gita, we should therefore at least theoretically accept. First, we should theoretically accept because it is the words, direct words in Bhagavad Gita. He himself says, I am the supreme personality. Arjuna says that you are a supreme personality. Let us accept it. What is the difficulty? How can we, so when we can accept different theories, different concepts in our school, we don't go and question everything. We are just told E is equal to mc square, we just accept it. Don't we accept? Why? Because it's been proven by some scientist. Means it's been said by some scientist because apparently he has done some research. Here, Arjuna is also experienced something. He is great researcher in one way. It means he's got the essence of everything. He is saying, so if we can believe any mundane thought very easily, what's the difficulty in just accepting the words of Arjuna, words of Krishna himself to start with? That is called Shraddha. We have faith. We accept it. We keep going. It's not blind faith. It is blind faith means You putting your own concoction. It's called blind faith. Here you're not putting any your own mental sentiments. You're believing in what something thousands and thousands of millenniums and millenniums have passed by, and unlimited devotees have accepted it. If so many people has accepted it, there should be some truth to it. Why should we waste our time in just getting bogged down in just doing examinations more and more? Or should I not? Should I not? Let us give one life for faith. We should therefore at least theoretically accept Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And with that submissive spirit, we can understand Bhagavad Gita. Submissive, we have to be submissive. Pranipatena, praniprashnena sevaya. Submissively, we have to surrender. Submissive means we don't have the spirit of scrutiny. We have the spirit of submissiveness. Means we should be enthusiastically surrendering ourselves as unknown, unknower, helpless. Submissive means being helpless and accepting that we don't know, but yet I feel that you have known the truth, so please accept me. So that is submissive surrender to Guru. So we should therefore at least theoretically accept Sri Krishna's Supreme Personality of Godhead, and with that submissive spirit, we can understand the Bhagavad Gita. Unless one reads the Bhagavad Gita in a submissive spirit, it's very difficult to understand Bhagavad Gita because it is great mystery. Just what is Bhagavad Gita? The purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to deliver mankind from the nations of material existence. Means it is like delivering, means liberating. Every man is in difficulty in so many ways. As Arjuna also was in difficulty in having to fight the battle of Kurukshetra. Because we have heard many times, Arjuna was in the battlefield, he was about to fight his family, so he didn't want to, and Krishna encouraged, motivated him, so he fought, and that was the war of Dharma. Very easy to say in few words. Can we imagine the difficulty what Arjuna was in and the difficulties which we actually face in our life? Even from the material, mundane aspect, the kind of difficulty he was in, we cannot even think of. Just imagine your brothers, sisters, means your cousins, your grandfather, your guru, your guru is standing in front of you, and you will have to fight them. It is inconceivable. It is unimaginable. That's why Bhagavad Gita is a nice, very nice psychological text. It's a psychotherapy text. Krishna is the supreme psychiatrist who is doing a psychology session to Arjuna. Means he is giving really good psychosis so that he understands what is dharma properly and what is the nature of the soul. In fact, through that he is establishing the real dharma of the soul. What is the real dharma of the soul? To surrender to Krishna, to become servant of Krishna. That is the actual dharma of the soul. So I think we should stop here because I can continue it on Tuesday. Monday I'm a bit busy, so we'll continue from Tuesday. Yeah, there's wonderful points coming up, and so much to get soaked in. Introduction itself, it's so many pages are there, like almost like 35, 40 pages, 30 pages more left, I would say. 26, 28 pages left in introduction, which will, as I said many times, we are not in a hurry to finish a text. It is what we hear again and again, and the association, we come all together and hear the glories of Krishna. So I look forward to seeing you all next week again on Tuesday, same time, 2:30 Indian time, 7:30 Adelaide time. Thank you everyone for coming. हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय, परम विजय ते श्री कृष्ण संकीर्तनम की जय. श्रीमद् भगवद गीता महाग्रंथ की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, श्रील गुरुदेव की जय, समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय, ताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. Any questions
Hari
from my
Hari
side?
Bol.
Any question?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
हाँ, Kila Mataji, please.
I am not sure if I am putting the question correctly, but
Yeah,
still,
that's fine.
We all are reading the same scriptures, everything, isn't it, Prabhu? But why everybody has a different conception, like each school having the same sentence have been printed, but why like different? For example, even Bhagavatam, everything. For example, in ISKCON, they practice in the way of different conception, and others. I know you can understand what I'm trying to say.
Yes, yes, yes. Very good question. See, the shlokas are all the same. Shlokas, there is no change. Everything is same. But why, when it comes to the understanding of the shlokas, so much huge, sometimes huge difference is there between each school. That is called different sampradayas have evolved according to the time, place, and circumstance. Means different line of thoughts have evolved. Buddha came, said the Vedas are false. He even rejected the Vedas. Shankaracharya brought back the Vedic culture. He established Vedas again as a supreme truth. But the understanding what he gave about Vedas was not complete. He gave a particular meaning because that was required at that time. At that time, it is very essential. And not only that time, even for the coming ages, lot of people will not be in the same plane to approach supreme truth. They will have different sukrutis in their life. They will have, they're in different stages, spiritual stages, I would say. So to give them according to their digesting capacity, Krishna's beautiful arrangement is to upgrade the theistic science gradually. So Ramanujacharya comes, Madhvacharya comes, then finally Mahaprabhu comes and introduces Vrindavana in a different prospect altogether. Till Mahaprabhu came, we only thought that Narayana is supreme. The two Vaishnavas thought that Narayana is supreme and Krishna is an avatar. And the whole new light dimension was given that Krishna is the supreme controller. He is the supreme Adideva. He is cause of all causes. Even Narayana is expansion of Krishna. A new light to Vrindavan, Goloka concept came. Means everything was unique. What Mahaprabhu, because he comes from that plane, so he revealed that plane, which was unknown. So your question, like even in Bhagavad Gita, so many shlokas are all they're all same shlokas. But when it comes to the conception, it's so much difference. Why it is? Actually, if you had come to the classes, last two classes, we covered that also. In fact, I will read that small paragraph which actually answers your question. Prabhupada starts from that. Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is actually starts from your question. He says Bhagavad Gita is also known as Gita Upanishad. It is the essence of Vedic knowledge and one of the most important Upanishads in Vedic literature. Of course, there are many commentaries in English on the Bhagavad Gita. He is just mentioning about English. What to talk about so many other commentaries on it within Indian context. This will answer everything. He says, of course, there are many commentaries in English on the Bhagavad Gita, and one may question the necessity for another one. This present edition can be explained in the following way. Recently, an American lady asked me to recommend an English translation of Bhagavad Gita. Of course, in America, there are so many editions of Bhagavad Gita available in English. But as far as I have seen, not only in America, but also in India, that's what I meant, not only in English, even in India, in different languages, none of them can be strictly said to be authoritative. Here, one might, who is reading might feel that, oh, Prabhupada is just saying that his Bhagavad Gita is only perfect, because he's openly saying that none of those commentaries said to be authoritative, because in almost every one of them, the commentator has expressed his own opinions. This is where we have to mark the lines. He says something, but he also proves it. Why? because commentator has expressed his own opinions without touching the spirit of Bhagavad Gita as it is. The spirit of Bhagavad Gita is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita itself. It is just like this. If we want to take a particular medicine, then we have to follow the directions written on the label. We cannot take the medicine according to our own whim or direction of a friend. It must be taken according to the directions on the label or the directions given by a physician. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita should be taken or accepted as it is directed by the speaker himself. Who else can be most authoritative than Krishna? For example, see, he is saying many people have commentated on Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the most exploited text in the world. Means everyone has tried to meddle with Bhagavad Gita with their own conception, trying to prove and establish their own perspective, socialistic approach, capitalistic approach, nationalistic approach. I was mentioning that day, even Raja Ram Mohan Roy has tried to establish his own conception of nationalism, patriotism. He even derives shlokas from Ramayana. He derives, derives from Ramayana. He says, I was mentioning that day, but we have to understand the context. But they will draw the shlokas from here and there. But they are trying to misguide us, nothing else. Because he says, when Ramachandra says to Ravana, to Lakshmana, when Lakshmana asks Rama, now you have Lanka after killing Ravana. It's such a beautiful place. Now you can rule the whole world from Lanka. You can make this as your capital. It is so nice, so beautiful. Ramachandra says, what does he say? Janani Janma Bhumischa Swargadapi Kariyasi. So he says, Janani Janma Bhumischa. For me, everything is my motherland. Janani Janma Bhumischa. So it is greater than the heaven. What context did he say? He said in the context of, I'm not attached to anyone else's land. Yes, my job was not here to conquer Ravana and kill him to get the land. I was only fighting against Adharma because he kidnapped my wife. She is Dharma Devata. She was taken away. So he brought back the Dharma. So now his job is done. He's not attached to that place. So he's going back to his place. He's saying, my motherland is everything to me. I'm not. So he was only talking from that concept. But there are many patriotic people, it's nationalistic approaches there, where they say, look, Ramachandra is saying, die for your country. That is the eternal thing. They'll motivate people saying that the most important aspect of your existence is actually giving everything to your motherland. Be an Indian, be an Australian. That is everything, all in all. You will get heaven. Die for your country. That thought should not be rejected. I'm not saying that thought is bad thought, but that's not the supreme absolute search to dying for some soil. It's material world. Yes, when it comes to, Chanakya Pandit says, when it comes to your family, yes, you should stand for the family. Greater than the family, stand for the society. Greater than the society, stand for the country. Greater than the country means you have to look inside and conquer the soul, he says. So we, according to the circumstance, yes, we act as Indians, but we should understand that's not the absolute truth. It's all false prestige. I'm an Indian, I'm an American, I'm black, I'm white, I'm Kannadiga, I'm Marathi, I'm Punjabi, I'm Tamil, whatever it is, it's all false prestige. What is the real ego, real prestige? I'm the soul, I'm Atma. That is the reality. Rest is all false, because this life I am a Kannadiga, next life I might be an American. Where this might be, like this life I'm an Indian, next life I'll get birth in Pakistan, which I'll hate India. Because I'm just born there, then I will have to be like that. You follow? But the soul remains as the same. Soul is soul everywhere. It doesn't change. Our false designation changes. So many people have meddled with Bhagavad Gita in their own motives from different aspects. People have proclaimed after writing commentaries on Bhagavad Gita saying that Krishna is just a superhuman. Commentaries have said that Krishna is like us. He is just supreme, as he is using Krishna to means supreme truth, absolute truth. The energy is using Krishna to reveal the essence of Bhagavad Gita, that Aham Brahmasmi. Many concepts are there, many, but if you analyze, that's what Prabhupada is not saying, read mine, now mine is only perfect. No, he's saying, just take the words as it is. Krishna has spoken. Krishna himself is saying, if you even grammatically read, Vyakarna, don't have to really extract the meaning, just as it is translation of the shloka. Krishna says, Aham Sarvasva Prabhu, I am the source of everything. He's saying, I am Bhagavan, I am, surrender sarva dharmam paritijya mamekam sharanam vraja. He's saying, surrender unto me. He's not saying surrender unto the truth, surrender unto God. He's saying, surrender unto me, I am the truth. What's the difficulty in accepting? So many versions have come, not from now, from bygone ages. Many commentaries have come, but many people have tried. Not all of them, I'm not saying all of them. Great acharyas, of course, have given it in perfect way. That is why it is coming down from the acharya disciplines. Not that Prabhupada was the first person to write Bhagavad Gita commentary perfectly. No. The acharyas have, great acharyas have, sampradayas have presented Bhagavad Gita perfectly. It doesn't mean that other sampradayas are imperfect, like Sri Sampradaya. They are also perfect. They are taking devotees to Vaikuntha, but they are showing supreme truth as Vaikuntha. That is because they're also pure devotees there, but they are basically from that plane, so they are revealing that plane. So Prabhupada is coming down from Goloka, he's revealing that plane. But the message, the supreme, the supreme's reality, that is Vishnu is supreme, Narayana, Krishna, Vishnu, all are same, they are supreme. That is not hidden, that is not taken away. Spirit is not taken away. That is what Prabhupada is saying. The spirit of Bhagavad Gita mentioned is Bhagavad Gita itself. Spirit should not be diluted. Do not dilute with making Karma Yoga as the supreme yoga, Jnana Yoga as the supreme yoga, Ashtanga Yoga means that as the supreme yoga. Because Bhagavad Gita, in Bhagavad Gita itself, it's been said, Arjuna says that I cannot control my mind. I can control wind, but not my mind. Other three yoga systems are not easy for me. Bhakti yoga is natural for me. And Krishna himself says how Bhakti yoga is the supreme yoga. First few examples that why we should read the proper bona fide one and why so many commentaries are given, because they've all tried to put their own mental concoctions there. They have not presented how Krishna has spoken as it is. That's why Prabhupada wanted to make sure he calls Bhagavad Gita as it is. He said as it is, means not meddled with, not diluted, or I don't have any intention not to make my Bhagavad Gita successful. He just wanted to show how Krishna has spoken Bhagavad Gita, how his gurus have seen it properly. He just wanted to bring it to the Western society in English, because in English it was more exploited. So hope this answers your question, Mataji.
Very nice explanation, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so you can read, you have the Bhagavad Gita as it is, right? Bhagavad Gita as it is, Prabhupada.
Yeah.
So what you do is you go to the introduction and read first 3 or 4 pages, 3 pages even. So he actually starts from that. First, he starts from the Pranam Shlokas, and after that, he starts with that. Bhagavad Gita is also called Gita Upanishad. That's where he starts from. It's really beautiful. Okay.
Sorry, Prabhu.
Thank you,
I may.
Mataji. No, it is a very, very nice question.
Repeated one.
No. Yeah, please tell me. Did you say something?
No, like I'm saying sorry if I have repeated the same doubt, like. Yeah.
No, that's good, because many people will have that. So it is always good to clear that out when you have it, because that is the right way to understand the supreme truth. That when something is a stumbling block, we try to approach someone who can explain that, to clear that stumbling block. Now I hope it answered your question, why so many people have commented in so many ways, right?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Everyone.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare